Christians understand that human nature is fallen and sinful, and that means that we are prone to deceive and to falling for deception. But how do we respond when lies and deception become the main characteristics of our institutions and culture? Pastor John Amanchukwu has taken that subject head on in his new book, Hoodwinked, 10 Lies Americans Believe. He's a preacher, author, and activist whose passion for the next generation pours out on audiences nationwide, and he's been heard many times here on American Family Radio. Welcome, Pastor.
Thank you so much for having me on.
You know, lies are nothing new. All we have to do is look back to the Garden of Eden. What makes today's culture different from what we've seen in times past?
Well, I believe that the lies that we are hearing today are even the more cloaked in parts of truth. You know, it was once said that rat poison is 99% good ingredients, but it's the 1% that will kill you. The title of my new book, entitled Hoodwinked, that term is an old fogey and or antiquated term, but what it meant archaically is that for an individual to be at the position where they are beyond blindfolded. Consider a piece of cloth around someone's eye to the point that they can't see anything at all. So they're beyond blindfolded, or they have a hood over their head. And that's where we are in society today. People are beyond the point of seeing what is right and what is wrong, what's good and what is evil.
Yeah. You cover a lot of contemporary issues in your book. You focus on, of course, the 10 lies. I want to focus on a couple of lies that seem to be leading the pack. Number one, America is a racist nation. We've heard that everywhere. What about that lie?
Well, first and foremost, when you consider even the current border crisis, we have 10 million criminal illegal aliens that have come into our country since 2020. I don't call them asylum seekers or newcomers. They are criminal illegal aliens. However, there's a browning of America that has taken place. And when you consider the number of Blacks and brown people who are trying to get into this country, one has to come to the realization that why are people fighting to get into America if America is such a racist nation? America even has also given us our first Black president. And in order for Barack Hussein Obama to get elected, it required many of white people to vote for him. You know, Blacks make up only 13% of the American population. So therefore, in order for him to win, he had to have support from whites. But I'll also say this, that those who seek to label America as a racist nation are people who have issues with our Constitution, people who are anti-God, people who are pro-Hamas, and people who are anti-Israel. Oftentimes have these viewpoints, people who support Black liberation theology, who believe that America was founded in 1619 instead of 1776. These are the people who want to tarnish America and label it as a racist nation.
One of the other lies that you deal with also, and this is somewhat related to that, is dealing with abortion, something that you continue to speak out against in your ministry. That is that being pro-life is only for white evangelicals. Why is that a common perception in the Black community?
Because if you are pro-life, then one might think that you have a evangelical worldview. You know, and the Bible speaks expressly on the topic of abortion. We have this thing called the 10 Commandments that they have removed from the public square and the public sector. But number 6 says, thou shalt not murder. Proverbs chapter 6, verses 16 through 19 gives us 7 things that God calls abominable, one of which is the shedding of innocent blood. And so there are people who would tell you that if you are pro-life, then you're therefore a Republican. Well, first and foremost, everyone should value life. Regardless of political party, you should value life. But there is one particular political party today that is supporting abortion on demand and infanticide, and that is the Democrat Party. And if you are Black like me and you go around saying that you are pro-life, they even label people as like me as being an individual who is supporting a white evangelical worldview. And I disagree with that because being pro-life is first and foremost biblical.
There are a lot of people, Pastor, who want to minister to women at abortion clinics, but they would face the accusation that, well, you're not black, you don't deserve a seat at the table, or you don't qualify to have an opinion in this issue. How do people deal with that criticism and respond?
That's an unfair criticism. You know, when you love your fellow brothers and sisters in Christ, whether they are caught in sin or in error or in a fault, you should do what's necessary to support them beyond pigmentation. Skin tone shouldn't matter. However, I have to point out that oftentimes when you go to abortion clinics around this country, nearly 70% of the time you will see that 70% of the people outside of the abortion clinics trying to save the babies are white, but the majority of the babies who are being aborted and killed are black. That's another thing that points towards this notion of America being a racist nation.
Right.
If America is such a racist nation, why are white people by and large trying to save black babies?
You know, one of the frustrating trends that's related to that is the lack of civil debate. And that's just one illustration of that topic. You know, have we passed the point of no return in that, or do you think that we can regain some kind of respectful disagreement in our discourse with one another?
I think that we need to get back to the point where we move from trying to enable people, coddle people, scratch ears, to telling people what thus saith the Lord, and working with the intent of mending people back together with truth. I do think that a healthy debate is necessary, even in the church, even amongst political parties, as it relates to these issues. However, when you disagree with many people on the left, they label you as a homophobe, as a bigot, as a racist, or maybe even as a white supremacist if you disagree with them. And so you can't have a fruitful, pragmatic, and beneficial conversation if, when we disagree, a person takes their ball and they go home and they tarnish the other person and call them names.
So Christians should simply disregard those criticisms and press forward with biblical truth. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, essentially we should. You know, we know that the darkness is against the light. We know that we're fighting issues of good versus evil. And so, yes, Christians need to do what's necessary to have the endurance to overcome the objections, all of the lies, even when you consider what's going on in our college campuses today, where people are shouting death to America and death to whites and burning down the American flag and tearing down monuments and statues. You know, even in the face of that, we still must be the hands and the feet of Jesus, and we must do what's necessary to be the Good Samaritan.
Pastor, where can people find out more about you and follow the work that you do and perhaps get a copy of the book?
Yes, you can go to iknowgod.us. That's iknowgod.us, or go to Amazon and pick up a copy there. Thank you so much for your support. Follow me on social media at REVWU Truth. And keep in mind that as I travel this country, even going to school board meetings and speaking out against diversity, equity, and inclusion and critical race theory, that I need your support. Pray for me, but also help fund this movement, because we're fighting for the soul of our nation. And there is no one that is being impacted in the manner that most are like our children. Yes. Our children are being corrupted and destroyed by Satan, and only truth can remove them from the enemy's paw.
Pastor John Amanchukwu, thank you for your courage and your boldness. It is contagious, and we appreciate that, and we will pray for you as you continue your ministry. Once again, the name of the book, Hoodwinked, 10 Lies Americans Believe, by our guest, Pastor John Amanchukwu. Pastor, thank you so much for joining us.
God bless you. Thank you.